In summer 2026, Harley Benton released their Aged series of relic guitars and basses, and this is my favourite of the bunch. It's the TE-62LA. That's their light aged, their lightly relict take on their TE-62 Fender Telecaster style of guitar. And for €249, well, I can already save you the time and tell you that this is a wonderful modern take on the Telecaster. It plays great, I think it looks fantastic too, it feels really good, it's an all-round fantastic purchase. However, quite a few of you have said to me, well, if this one's €249, then why is the standard TE-62CC, the non-relict version if you will, €149? What's that €100 price difference all about? And so in this video, I'm going to compare these two guitars in great detail, and hopefully by the end of this video, well, you'll know which one you might need to try first the next time you need a Lake Placid Blue telly with a maple board in your life. Now, I'm going to start by telling us about the specs and features of both of these guitars, then I'm going to play them for you in as many different musical styles as I can possibly manage, and afterwards I'll give you my own personal opinions about these two guitars. Now, I paid my own money for both of these, so this is a totally unsponsored video in every way, shape or form. I've had very different experiences with these two guitars and there's quite a lot to say about them. So timestamps down there if you want to go somewhere specific first, but let's kick things off with the specs and features, and we'll start with the new boy. That's the TE-62LA. So this is the TE-62LA, and the LA stands for light aged. If you'd prefer a heavier relic finish, you can do that. You can go for the HA, which stands for heavy aged, and that applies to every model, every guitar and bass in the Aged series. You can go for the lighter aged model or the much more heavy-handed, the much more beaten up HA heavy aged version. I personally went for the TE-62LA because I like a lighter relic finish, and I actually think that the more you relic a guitar artificially, the less realistic it looks. But that's opening a big can of worms. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, when these guitars were first really teased at Guitar Summit 2024 in Mannheim in Germany, well, we were led to think that we might even get nitro finishes on these guitars. That hasn't materialized. I think for €249 we were never going to get that, but we've got this great matte poly finish going on here, and Harley Benton say they've spent a lot of time really making sure that they got this one right, and I think those 2 years of R&D have really added probably to the price of the guitar, as well as the complexity of this finish over a standard finish. So that might be where we're looking at some of the price increase with this guitar. But besides the relic job, we have some other stuff that you don't get on the TE-62CC as well that makes it a bit different, and that might also account for the difference in price. What have we got beyond that relic job then? Well, it starts with an American alder body here, which you can see peeping through the relic job at various points, and that's coupled to a Canadian roasted maple or caramelized maple neck and fingerboard. Now elsewhere we've got tastefully aged hardware throughout. The only thing that I've noticed that hasn't been aged is the plastic bridge pickup cover going on here, and the rest of the hardware has had a relic job done to it. Some of it is a bit more heavy-handed than others. The scratch plate, for example, on the sides is very yellow and less yellow under where the strings go, and on the fingerboard down at the first 2 or 3 frets there we've got some heavy relicing going on there as well, but the rest of it is indeed true to the light aged model name. Now in terms of the hardware on the front here, we've got a pair of Isola or Isola pickups in the Telecaster style. That's a newish brand under the Thomann Harley Benton banner, and this is a big difference compared to the TE-62CC, which has a set of their more standard Roswell pickups in it. They're both Alnico 5 pickups on both guitars, but that's one of the most significant differences. 3-way pickup selector switch to move between the pickups, standard Telecaster control plate layout with a master volume and a master tone control, and we've got a vintage ashtray Telecaster style bridge with 3 brass saddles going on here as well. And if I move us around to the back of the guitar, feast your eyes on that beautiful, deep, rich and quite sparkly Lake Placid Blue finish, which I think Harley Benton have really nailed with this guitar. There's a bit of belt buckle rash going on the back of this guitar, nicely placed as well. We've got string through body operation going on, and we've got a Harley Benton logoed aged neck plate on the back here as well. And moving up to the neck itself, well, it's that caramelized or roasted maple affair with the roasted maple fingerboard too. Just like the TE-62CC, you're going to get 21 medium jumbo frets, you're going to get a 42mm nut, a 12-inch or 305mm fingerboard radius, and a Telecaster standard 25.5 inches is 648mm scale length going on here. The biggest difference between the two necks here is the neck profile. Now on the TE-62LA, you're going to have what I think is a nice modern C. It's definitely a C shape, and it's got a lot more chunk and heft to it than the modern D-shaped neck on the TE-62CC. So if you really like your thin necks, you're probably going to gravitate more towards the TE-62CC first, and if you prefer your slightly more rounded C-shaped necks, well, this one is going to feel absolutely lovely straight away. As I said, you've got that lovely matte finish, and it's very slinky to get up and down indeed. Up at the headstock there, the Relic look continues, and we've got a set of aged Harley Benton tuners on the back there. So this is the €249 Aged Series TE-62LA. Now let's take a look at the €149 TE-62CC. And this is the TE-62CC. Now I bought this guitar when it came out around 4 years ago, something like that, and it's a great take on the Telecaster, especially when you consider that this guitar is a mere €149. It's bags of guitar for the money, and it's €100 cheaper than the new Aged Series. The first thing that you'll notice is, again, we've got a Lake Placid Blue finish and a roasted or caramelized maple neck and fingerboard going on here, but the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that the Lake Placid Blue finish here is perhaps not quite as enticing, as sparkly, and as deep and rich looking as the one on the new Aged Series guitar. Now I think a lot of that can be attributed to the standard poly finish versus the matte poly Relic aged finish going on there, but I think Harley Benton have actually nailed the Lake Placid Blue colorway over the past couple of years, and it looks fantastic on the new aged one. This guitar looks decent, but the new one is a step up in that respect. Anyway, underneath the Lake Placid Blue finish here, we've got a basswood body as opposed to the American alder on the new Aged Series model, and we've got non-aged hardware on this guitar. We've got a mint green or off-white scratch plate here, a pair of Roswell Alnico 5 pickups, which many of you Harley Benton fans will be familiar with. We've got a three-way selector switch again, master volume and master tone controls, and another vintage ashtray style bridge with 3 saddles going on here, but presumably they're not brass on this guitar, and Harley Benton don't advertise them as such. Moving around to the back of the TE-62CC, no relicing going on here whatsoever. We've got string through body operation and a standard neck plate here with no Harley Benton initials or logo or anything like that. And moving up to the neck, and like I said before, the biggest difference between the playability of these two guitars is going to be in the neck profiles. We've got a modern D shape on the TE-62CC, and it has significantly less chunk to it than the TE-62LA. This is not a super skinny neck by any means. If you like your Ibanez Wizard necks, this is still considerably bigger, but the TE-62LA is considerably bigger, and it's C-shape as well. So that's definitely something to think about if neck shape is a defining characteristic for you. Otherwise, those standard Telecaster style specs, and again, the same as the TE-62LA, 42mm nut, 25.5-inch, 648mm scale length, 12-inch fingerboard radius, 305mm, and 21 medium jumbo frets here. And again, we've got a matte finish neck here. It's lovely and slinky as well. And we've got a skunk stripe going on the TE-62CC, which we don't have on the new Aged Series guitar. And up at the headstock there, once again, roasted maple look going on there, looks very cool, and non-aged Harley Benton tuners on the back there. So €149, this makes the TE-62CC a very, very good value for money guitar, and €100 cheaper than the TE-62LA. But does it sound anywhere near as good? Well, that's what we're about to find out next, because it's time to do some sound comparisons. You guys know that I love a Telecaster, and I think that you can play basically any style of music with a Telecaster, so that's what we're going to try and do now. Now, my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll use a couple of my favorite pedals to spice things up a bit, and we'll start with some pristine clean tones. We'll do some country twangy stuff, we'll do some strum chords, some arpeggios, see how different the Roswell and the Isola pickups sound. Then we'll kick in some grit, courtesy of my Greer Lightspeed Organic Overdrive pedal, and we'll do some indie rock and some alternative rock stuff. And after that, we'll use my amp's crunch and lead channels to do some classic rock stuff in the vein of AC/DC, Jimi Hendrix, Airborne, that sort of thing, and some harder rock stuff, some punk rock stuff as well. And at the end, we'll head back to the clean channel, we'll kick in my Rev G3 high gain distortion pedal, tune the two guitars down to drop D, and see if we can do a bit of metal chugging, because why not? Telecaster pickups have so much clarity that these guitars should be great for that kind of thing. But anyway, listen to the riffs, tell me which of the two guitars you think sounds best in the comments, and come back afterwards and I'll give you my full and thorough opinions about both of these guitars. Okay then, so that was the battle of the Harley Benton Telecasters, and I hope you enjoyed the playing, the riffs and the tones. And now it's your turn. Leave me a comment down there please, telling me which of the two guitars you preferred. And I think there's two main battles going on here. Number one, are you team Relic, are you team Aged Series, or do you prefer the pristine finish of the TE-62CC? And number two, what about those two different sets of pickups? On the TE-62CC, we've got the standard Harley Benton Roswells that we all know and love, and on the new Aged Series, we've got the new Isola or Isola pickups, and they did sound significantly different at certain points. So let me know which one you preferred. Appreciate you folks with your thoughts as ever. Let's get a bit of a discussion going. But now it's time for me to tell you my thoughts and opinions about these two guitars. And if you're someone who's currently thinking whether or not to get the aged one or the non-aged one, well, hopefully this next part is going to help you at least to make up your mind a little bit. And I think when you're looking for a new guitar, you probably go through a checklist very similar to me when you're looking at the things that you might want from that guitar. The first thing that you're going to look at, of course, is going to be what a guitar looks like. That's the way a guitar catches your eye. And here you're going to be team Relic or team non-Relic. And I know that Relics are very, very divisive. I've not been the biggest fan of Relics throughout my life, but I have to say I'm hugely impressed with the Relic job on the TE-62LA. And I have to say that I think it's probably the best Relic job that I've ever seen on a sub $1,000 guitar. And it's quite possibly better than many of the Relic jobs that I've seen on many more expensive guitars as well. And the key to that is the fact that they haven't thickly lacquered over the Relic parts after they've done the relicking. So not only does it look fairly realistic, but it feels that way as well, and you can feel the bare wood underneath. So I really like the Relic of this guitar, and overall they've nailed the sparkliness and the deep rich Lake Placid Blue finish on this guitar far better than they had on the TE-62CC back in the day. And so in terms of looks, for me personally, well, I'm going to be picking the TE-62 TE-62LA. The next thing you would look at would be the price, and for €249 and €149 respectively, well, both of these guitars are winners straight away. However, the TE-62CC for €149, that is an absolute no-brainer. When you start to look at the differences between the two guitars though, the value for money thing, well, there probably is a bit more money in the Relic guitar. Now you've got the Relic finish, of course, you've got the R&D that Harley Benton put into making this a really decent Relic job. That's all going to add to the price, and you might have better quality woods and bits of hardware in the Aged Series guitar too. We've got American alder here as opposed to basswood or basswood on the TE-62CC, and the roasted maple in the neck and fingerboard is explicitly marked as being Canadian in the Aged Series, whereas it's not for the standard TE-62CC, which might make it a better quality version of roasted maple wood. We've also got brass saddles in the bridge here, and we don't have that on the TE-62CC. We've also got the aged hardware as well, and all of this is going to add up in price. Whether or not that's going to add up to an extra €100 of value to you, that's going to be your call to make. The other difference here is that we've got the Isola pickups in the new one versus the Roswells in the old one, but that's going to be more a sounds difference. I think probably in terms of production, they cost exactly the same in terms of money. But in terms of price, at the end of the day, well, you can't look twice at €149 for the TE-62CC, so it wins on that front. Then we come to the build quality, and I remember when I bought the TE-62CC around 3-4 years ago now, I was a bit worried getting it out of the box that for €149 it would be in terrible shape, but it wasn't. It's been pretty much exemplary from the moment I've got it, and it has had a setup in the meantime, as every guitar should, by the way, but in terms of the build quality and the hardware, I can't fault it in any way. All of that hardware has always done its job. The tuners and the bridge and the nut, they've all been done in a way that you can't fault them, especially for that price. No issues with the electronics or anything like that. The guitar came set up really well as well. So 2 thumbs up for the TE-62CC in terms of build quality. And so far, I can say exactly the same about the TE-62LA. It came great straight out of the box in terms of setup. Lovely slinky neck, action and intonation, spot on. So far, the tuners and the bridge and the electronics are all doing their job just as they should. So in terms of build quality, both guitars are exemplary in that sense. The other thing to mention at this point is going to be the weights of the two guitars. Now, I personally like a guitar to be 8 pounds or under if I can get it, and thankfully both of these guitars fit that brief. Now, the TE-62CC weighs in at 3.4 kilograms, which is about £7.7, £7.8, so that's a really decent solid weight, and the brand new Aged Series TE-62LA is even lighter. This one comes in at 3.13 kilograms, which is £6.13, £6.14, so under £7, and for me that is an absolute huge win. It feels great, it doesn't feel too light or anything like that, and in that sense this guitar wins in the weight stakes for me. Next we come to the playability, and this is where we get our first significant difference between the two guitars, and that's in the profile of the necks. That's a hugely important thing when it comes to playing a guitar because it's all about playing comfort, and for me personally, well, I favour the neck profile, the slightly chunkier C shape of the Aged Series, the TE-62LA. Now the TE-62CC has a more modern, thinner, D-shaped neck, which is very comfortable as well, but when I compare the two of them, well, I really do prefer this slightly chunkier C shape on the TE-62LA. Both of the necks are really slinky though. They're both satin finished roasted maple, and we've got 21 medium jumbo frets on both of them too, with the same scale length, the same nut width, and the same fingerboard radius too. However, I would say that if you like a more modern feeling skinnier neck, go for the TE-62CC, and if you like a bit more heft in your hand, not a really chunky baseball bat vintage neck, but if you do like a bit more chunk, then the TE-62LA is going to be the right one for you. Now in terms of the bodies of the guitars, I actually slightly prefer the new TE-62LA as well, because it's got this matte relic finish, and that actually makes it less sticky for me, just makes it a bit more comfortable to get around. And the rest of the playability on both of these guitars is exemplary. They're Telecasters, they're nice slabs of wood, very simple to get to grips with, and just work very well indeed. But in terms of the neck profile, in terms of that matte relic finished body, and in terms of the weight as well, well, for me personally, I'm going to give the win in the playability stakes to the TE-62LA. The other crucial difference between these guitars is going to be in the tonal department and the way they sound. And as soon as we plugged in and strummed a few chords, I think those differences became very clear. Now we do have Telecaster style single coil Alnico 5 pickups in both guitars, but in the TE-62CC it's a set of Roswells, and in the TE-62LA Aged Series it's a set of Isolas, or Isolas, however you say that brand name. And I should say as well, by the way, that the volume and tone knobs on both guitars were all the way up at all times for my sins. That's the way that I play, and the settings on the amp and the settings on the pedals were always the same too. So any tonal differences, any volume discrepancies is purely down to how I played, the dynamics with which I played, and the pickups themselves. Going back to that clean channel then, as soon as we strummed the first open cowboy chords, you can hear that the bridge pickup on the TE-62CC has a lot more brittle top end in it. That is a feature of Telecaster bridge pickups. They can be very ice picky, they can take your head off, and the TE-62CC's bridge pickup really can do that. I didn't want to wind it back on this though with the tone knob, because I wanted us to hear the difference between that and the TE-62LA. The TE-62LA's bridge pickup is a really nice vintage sounding Telecaster pickup. It does have that ice picky nature to it as well, but it's a more rounded bridge pickup. It's got a bit more mids in it, a bit more bottom end too. It's rounder and warmer and fuller in totality compared to the TE-62CC. Now when we went to the neck pickups, I thought that we actually had a lot more buoyancy and life from the pickup in the TE-62CC. The pickup in the neck of the TE-62LA is very mellow. It's a little bit warm and almost muffled sounding in some contexts, and I actually prefer the neck pickup in that sense, the Roswell in the TE-62CC. Having the two pickups together, being in the middle, that's where I love to be for a lot of my clean playing. It's great for strum chords, it's great for funky stuff, it's great for indie, it's great for blues and so on, it's great for arpeggios, and I think that both of these guitars sound fantastic for that, but I like the slightly more overall rounded voice and tonal character of the TE-62LA for that. When we kicked in some drive, that's something that a Telecaster bridge pickup loves as well. Both of these guitars are fantastic for indie and alternative rock, but again, I liked the slightly more rounded character of the Isola pickup in the Aged Series for that. For the classic rock stuff on the crunch channel of the amp, I thought both of these guitars sounded great. I love the biting clarity of the TE-62CC and the extra mid push that you get from the TE-62LA, but both of these guitars do a fantastic job in that respect. And as we progressed into heavier distortion with the hard rock stuff and the metal with the Rev G3, well, the extra compression and distortion meant that the pickups on the two guitars started to sound more and more similar. And here, Telecasters really excel for high gain stuff. You have bundles of crispness and clarity. You can ring out all 6 strings of a highly distorted chord and hear every single note. They're both great for that sort of stuff. Which guitar sounds better? Well, I would say in terms of tonal quality, they're rather similar. But for me, I'm going to give the slight edge for the overall versatility and the rounded nature of the TE-62LA. However, I'm going to caveat that slightly. I'm not someone who spends a lot of time on purely the neck pickup of a Telecaster. Now on my favourite Fender, well, I got rid of the neck pickup single coil on that and put a wide range humbucker in instead, because I just thought that works better for me. And that's probably something I would do with either of these if it were to become my #1 guitar. But in terms of pure neck pickup, I actually prefer the TE-62CC in this sense. So go by what works best for you, and you'll find a Telecaster that performs perfectly in your own tonal expectations. At the end of the day though, which of these two guitars is better, and is the TE-62LA worth the extra €100? It's a difficult question to answer, but we've been through many different factors and all of the facets of these two different guitars, and in my personal opinion, well, I would have to say yes. I think that the Aged Series is worth the extra €100, and I'd be happy to spend €249 on one of these again over the TE-62CC. Having said that, for €149, I think the TE-62CC is a stupendous guitar, and if you want to get a basic non-relict T-type instrument for that price, well, you can't go wrong with that one in any way, shape or form. However, for me, there's a few specific factors that make the Aged Series version the better choice for me. Now, first off, I don't mind the Relic thing, and that's definitely going to be a decisive factor for many of you watching this, but for me, it doesn't turn me off. I also think that the Lake Placid Blue finish has been done better here. It looks more 3D, it looks deeper, richer, sparklier, and it juxtaposes for me even better with the aged hardware and the deep vintage roasted caramelized maple finish on the neck and the fingerboard. And in terms of the playability, I much prefer the chunkier C-shaped neck on the Aged Series over the more modern, slimmer D-shaped neck on the TE-62CC. And again, with the playability, the matte finish on the body just makes that one easier and more ergonomic for me. Then you've got the weights, and actually the Aged Series guitar here is significantly lighter lighter than the non-aged one, so I'm going to go for it on that front as well. And finally, the sounds, of course, that's going to be totally subjective as well, but for me, I can't get past the beautiful tele-bridge pickup tones of this Isola bridge pickup, so I'm going to go for this one as well. We'll probably be swapping out the neck pickup at some point, but that's par for the course anyway. So there you go, many reasons for me to pick the TE-62LA Aged Series over the TE-62CC, but what about you? Have you reached the same decision as me? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Looking forward to hearing what you guys think as ever. And if you've got any more questions about either of these two guitars, well, let me know as well, and I shall do my best to answer you. And if you're still around, would really make my day if you wanted to give the video a like, or maybe even sub to my channel as well, because that really does help. And there's loads of Harley Benton content on here already, with plenty more to come in future as well. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.